The oil industry is one of the largest and most varied industries all over the world due to the imports of this sector to the development of the world's economy. It is very common for the industry to be classified into three sectors, namely upstream, midstream, and downstream. While the upstream sector involves the initial discovery and pumping of the oil, the midstream has to do with transportation and shipping of oil. The last stage, which will be the focus of discourse on Stepping Up this week, involving the actual processing, selling, and distribution of natural gas and oil-based products. It is expedient to point out that the downstream sector also plays a significant role in quite a few other industries and areas of life as well, apart from its primary roles. The downstream influences some industries such as medical industry, going by the roles it plays in the production of pharmaceuticals and medical equipment. It equally produces plastics for packaging of goods in the manufacturing industry, as well as plays a big role in the reduction of fertilizers and pesticides. After half a century of exploration activities, oil was first discovered at Olebiri in 1956 in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. Since this discovery, petroleum production and exports play a dominant role in the country's economy, accounting for about 90% of our gross earnings. The question now is, to what extent has Nigeria, been one of the oil-producing countries, taken advantage of the downstream sector to grow our economy? These and more will be the focus on Stepping Up this week, as the Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Downstream, Honorable Joseph Akinlaja, steps up on the program. We will kick off the program in a moment. Do stay with us. My name is Kemi Fakeye, your host. The program is Stepping Up, and we're reaching you from the office of the Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Downstream, Honorable Joseph Akinlaja. Honorable, you're welcome to Stepping Up this week.
Thank you, my sister Fakeye. I'm happy being with you.
Thank you very much. Without wasting time, let's start by asking you, do we have enough legislation guiding the operations of the downstream sector in Nigeria?
Well, presently we have enough laws guiding the downstream sector of the petroleum resources in Nigeria, but we are coming up with the bigger one that will take care of the industry as a whole, both upstream, middle stream, and downstream. At the moment, we have acts, establishing the petroleum prices regulatory agency, including the board, including the executive, including the activities, and also penalty for breach. We have the act establishing the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPRO, including all their function and activities as a regulator. We have an act establishing the Petroleum Equalization Fund, PEF, the board, the equalization work and staffing, everything, and penalty for breach of any part of the act. So above all, we have an act establishing the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, with all its 12 subsidiaries before, but now broken down to about 30 operating units. So there are laws guiding the oil industry.
You said the legislature is coming up with a bigger act. Does it mean that the sector has not fared well over the years?
There are room for improvement here and there, especially the regulatory aspect of the upstream, downstream, and especially the benefit for the host communities where we exploit oil from and produce. So we're coming up with a bigger thing, which popularly called the Petroleum Industry Bill, or Petroleum Reform Bill, or so many names, but one name will come out, which will be an omnibus act of the National Assembly for the oil industry, for improvement of activities of the oil industry.
How far has the National Assembly gone in terms of the petroleum reform bill?
Well, you know, the Senate is on it, but I can speak specifically about the Federal House of Representatives. I'm one of those who presented the bill, you know, before the House, along with my colleagues of Downstream and gas, and it has gone through second reading, so it's in the works.
Okay, your committee performs oversight function in the downstream sector. What is the state of the country's refineries?
What we met recently is an improvement of what has happened in the past 2-3 years. By the time we got to Warri refinery, the flame was up, and when you get to a refinery and you see the flame, then you know that refining activities have started. We got to Warri, Port Harcourt, the same thing. Even the very first refinery that was established in 1965, the Nigerian Petroleum Refining Corporation, that was established in 1965. We saw the work that have gone on there, and they said the week after we left there, it will be up, the flame will be up, which means it will start production. But the new one, which was attached to it, which was an established one much later, was producing. And this last month, when we got to Kaduna Refinery, we found out that the flame was up to, which means it has started production. But talking generally, they have started production, but the production is still inadequate, for compared to our national consumption.
Will you say that Nigeria really needs to refurbish the old refineries, or we need a new one?
Well, a refinery is as good as its maintenance. In civilized, not civilized, in developed countries, we have refineries of over 100 years that is still working. But there you can go off the shelf and buy the parts and fix it. But in our own case, we have to import because we do not manufacture the parts here. So we can continue to refurbish the old ones, and it will produce to maximum now almost 100%, 90 to 95% of its installed capacity, if it is well maintained. I tell you, going back to memory lane, the first refinery, like I said, was established in 1965 in Port Harcourt, and up to 1981, 3 other refineries came up: the Warri, the Port Harcourt, and finally the Kaduna refinery. And at that time, that was a period of 16 years between 1965 and 1981. From 1981 till now, it's over 30 years, we have increased in vehicular, factory, and human population. Yet, we still have this 4 refineries that was, established within 16 years. In 30 years, no new one has been established. Definitely there will be a gap, which presupposes the fact that we will need more refineries in Nigeria. Thank you.
Haven't gone around and you've seen the situation in that sector. Apart from inadequate refineries, what else will you say is the bane of the downstream sector in Nigeria?
Well, turnaround maintenance. If, for example, you have a car that should be serviced after 1,000 kilometers, and then you allow it to run for 30,000 kilometers without service, when you will eventually service it, you will have problems with some other parts, one part. That is the figurative analogy that I can give to the situation in our refinery. When in 1978, 81, these refineries were established, that's Warri, Prakot, Kana. The turnaround maintenance was done regularly every 2 years and by Nigerian engineers. But when paradigm shift and we start to award contracts, Shioda built some of the refineries. We invited French technology to come and service it. A lot of things, went wrong. Politics went into award of contracts, and then there was a delay in turnaround maintenance, which led eventually to degeneration of the refineries and almost importation of 80 to 90% of our local consumption. So what I have seen wrong is turnaround maintenance.
What about the issue of militancy?
Well, those ones came later. At the beginning, even why turnaround maintenance was not carried out regularly, as the case may be, the refinery has started degenerating. But it's now compounded by militancy, because even if the refineries are efficient and there's no crude, opportunity of getting the crude feedstock, definitely there will be no production. So that's another angle, another challenge that happened. But during the amnesty program of the former government, that situation improved a little until it resurfaced again last year.
Okay, and what's your committee doing to come in, to really find a lasting solution to these problems?
We have a very proactive speaker, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara. He charged all of us when he consulted the committee that we should be proactive. So therefore, there has been occasional intervention of our committee on upstreams, who also have oversight function in the upstream sector, and the interface with government, especially in the area of our advice, whether through motion or through bill, on what should be done to the community where this oil is being mined. Our committee on environment is very active too in terms of making the place, because really it can be very devastating when you mine a product. Even where there is coal mine, there is always something done to ameliorate the effect of coal that you mine from a place. Talk less of crude oil, that once it's filled, vegetation is gone, aquatic life is affected, even the people.
And how much of this have you done?
We operate through motion and pass to executive for execution, and even bills. But something that is very urgent that cannot wait for the long process of bill and acts and signature, because before it becomes an act of parliament, we go through motions. So we have a series of motions that we have made that even led to government, the executive, calling a big meeting of the people in the community in Abuja. And we, as members of parliament, also invited to attend such meetings. We have done that quite a number of times.
We would like to take a short break now. The program will continue in a moment. Please do stay. The program is still stepping up, and the Chairman House Committee on Petroleum Downstream, Honorable Joseph Akinlaja, is still on the seat, stepping up on the program. We are discussing the issue in the petroleum sector, especially the downstream. Honorable, how are the major stakeholders in this sector tackling these challenges? Because we know that you have interfaced with them at one point or the other. And do you think they are doing enough?
Well, in the downstream sector, Laws are made, for compliance. The downstream sector starts with the petrol stations, at the gas station where people go in to fill their car or vehicle and go away. The law says before you establish a filling station, there must be environmental impact assessment, that will be carried out by experts. And unless and until that location meets the environmental impact assessment approval, no station is allowed to be established. And they say a town where there's no law, then there's no offense. So there is offense if you build your filling station in an awkward place, or a place that when it's built, the whole place can get burnt and so on and so forth. So that, to that effect, there is law, and we oversight to be sure there is compliance, to that. Then another one is establishment of depots, petroleum product depots. If you look at Lagos, Cocoa, Warri, Port Harcourt, Calabar, now even Uyo, along the waterfront, you see petroleum product depots sprung up like the mushroom. Since Nigerians are now holding the downstream sector. With this, you have all this. Therefore, we must put in place environmental impact assessment that will ensure safety, of the people. A typical tank farm, once it is built, the tanks must have a perimeter fence that in case of spillage, will contain all the product that spills, so that it doesn't spill over to cause either environmental damage or even fire. We also have other regulatory, other regulation established that will reduce environmental impact in the downstream sector. The upstream sector, they also have this regulation, but more of this environmental pollution is actually in the upstream. Exploitation, which means seismic activities, then exploitation, which is production, and then transportation of the crude through pipeline. All those places it passes, so they are vulnerable more to environmental issues than the downstream sector.
The issue of pipeline vandalism is another major problem for the downstream sector. I know there are laws, guiding these things, and also to sanction whoever is caught. How much of this law is being implemented and followed to letter?
Well, human beings, being what we are, at the beginning the enforcement was not too stringent, and the people were allowed to grow into a syndicate. When a problem is syndicated, solution become more difficult, where everybody's hand is in the pie. This situation is more compounded too by the situation in the country. Joblessness, idle hand is the devil's workshop, then greediness on the number of people. There's nobody that is left out, in this when money is involved. Not many people will look another way when money is involved. So every bad egg within all the organization is syndicated to make sure that they bust the pipeline, take free petrol or kerosene or diesel, and they sell. Like I used to say, once a child knows where you keep calabash of honey on the rack, once he tastes it, even when in school, his mind will also be going there until he fall down with the calabash and everything scatter, or he finish licking the honey on the rack. He will not stop climbing there. So the honey in this one is money, and a lot of everybody like money. So all the bad eggs in different institutions of protection of the pipeline syndicated. You know, the government have to involve Air Force, in the case of Areco, to be able to strafe the place. Because any time they go there and chase the people away, they regrouped. It is very sad that of the 22 depots that NNPC has, it is difficult to pump fuel into them. That's why you have the congestion you have in Lagos, you know, Tapapa, where tankers have strewn the whole place and economic activity is affected. Even you that is going to Apapa or Lagos innocently pass through there, you lose man-hour. If the pipeline, the integrity of the pipeline is high, and they are pumping to Kaduna, to Maiduguri, we only take short distances. Even the accident on the road will be reduced. The damage to the road by weight will be reduced. So the vandalism, the effect of vandalism is permissive, and it has to be fought with blind rage.
Is this fair, you know, among Nigerians that a day will come that this oil will no more be there? What's your take on the issue of diversification of the economy?
Fuel, hydrocarbon, is a wasting asset. It will finish one day. And if it does finishes, we go back to the Stone Age agriculture. As a Stone Age, we cannot more go back to Stone Age, but at least we go back to agriculture. Even in the Bible, when they were looking for David, they said you should go and look for him in the field, which means that Greeks have started from the beginning of time, and it can never finish like oil. The land is always there for cultivation, and also, it is when the oil is getting to finish, or it finishes, or we see the reality that it may soon finish and begin to think of diversification, that we will know what God has given to Nigeria. There is no state that does not have mineral resources buried in the belly of the geographical expression called that state. There's uranium, there's bauxite, there's bentonite, there's barite. Even the bentonite and barite that we use in the oil industry for mud log, it's there, and it's here in Nigeria. The Ondo state where I come from, you know, the Kota, the tar sand, the bitumen being, the bitumen are so annoyed that they came to the surface. They are on the surface, you know. If I'm putting a jocular form, they are angry on the ground. They want to be mine. So they came to the first surface. You go to Babu area and all those other places, you see tar sand, you see bitumen, you see all these things. These are things that in future we'll have no choice than to begin to develop.
Chairman House Committee on Petroleum, Downstream, Honorable Joseph Akinlaja. It's been nice talking with you on Stepping Up this week.
Thank you. We are all stepping up.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, viewer at home, for watching the program this week. Join us again when we shall bring you another episode and another guest. You can send your comments and your suggestions to all the platforms scrolling on your screen now. My name is Kemi Fakeye. Bye for now.